Hawaii e ku'one hanaue Ku'uhome kulaiwi nei Oli no au I nā pono lani o E Hawaii aloha E hau'oli nā opio Hawaii nei Oli Mai nā ahe makani e pā mai nei Mau ke aloha no Hawaii Mau ke aloha no Hawaii Ha'aheo ka ua I nā pali Ke nihi a e lai kana hele E uhai ana paha I kaliko Pua ahihile hua o uka Aloha oe Aloha oe Eke o na no I kalipo One fond embrace A ho'i a e au Until we meet again Until we meet again Until we meet again
That was incredible. That last song was the lovely Aloha Oi, Farewell to Thee, written in 1878. And as those little graphics had said, it was by Queen Lydia Liliuokalani, who was still a princess of the Hawaiian Kingdom when she penned it. It's her most famous song, and it's a common cultural symbol for our islands. The other song was Hawaii Aloha, also called Ku'one Hanau, and that is another beloved song written by the Reverend Lorenzo Lyons in the 1800s. It talks about his love for the islands, and we sing this a lot. We usually hold hands while we do it. Aloha, I'm Diana Ko, and I'm honored to spend time with you today, sharing a little bit about the state of Hawaii where I live. My family roots here go back generations. I grew up here. I attended a school for Indigenous Hawaiian children because I am part Native Hawaiian. Those are some pictures going far, far back in my youth. At this school, Kamehameha, there was a strong emphasis on history, culture, music, and language. And then I spent over 2 decades as a newscaster here at 3 local stations at a job that took me all around the islands and exposed me to a wide cross-section of our community and our geography. Now I'm a communications officer for the state, for the Department of Accounting and General Services. And so I continue to learn about this wonderful place, but now from the role of government worker. And I just wanted to say that because those are the perspectives that inform my talk today. And for the animal lovers out there, which include me, I am sprinkling animals into this talk to keep things interesting. So these are my family's cats and bird. The bird, by the way, is joining us today here on my shoulder. I don't know if you can see it with the green screen. First, let's take a look at where in the world Hawaii is. Here's a map. Hawaii is a chain of islands in the Pacific. There's 8 major islands: Kauai, Oahu, where I am, Molokai, Lanai, Maui, the island of Hawaii, Niihau, and Koho'olawe. And the last 2 tourists really don't visit. One of them, Niihau, is privately owned and doesn't take visitors. And the other, Kaho'olawe, can you see it? It's very tiny. It's like right in the middle of the screen, right in the middle of the map, is riddled with old bombs because the military used it as target practice in the 1940s. And also, it's very dry. It's not that welcoming in terms of landscape, and there's no infrastructure. The islands have nicknames. Kauai is the garden island because it's so lush and green. Oahu is the gathering place because it's the most populous island. Molokai is the friendly island because people are said to be friendlier there. Lanai is the pineapple island because that's what it grew for decades. Maui is a valley isle because it has a lot of valleys. Niihau is the forbidden island because so few people are allowed to go there. Kaho'olawe is the target island, which is kind of depressing, but I'll share more about it later. And Hawaii Island, that big one down at the bottom, is aptly named the Big Island because it's geographically the largest island in the chain, and it also happens to be the largest island in the USA as well. Now, I'll just share that people get it a little bit confused because the state and Hawaii Island have the same name. So if you want to say you're going to Hawaii Island, you either say the whole name like that or you use the nickname, which a lot of people do, which is the Big Island. And so in our pidgin accent or pidgin language, we might just say like, I'm going Big Island. Another point of confusion for people is where Waikiki and Honolulu are. They are not islands, they're towns on Oahu. Waikiki is a district and Honolulu is the capital city. So again, if you look kind of in the center, maybe towards the left of your map, you'll see that little red dot indicating Honolulu is the capital of the state. They're both on the southern end of Oahu, just a few miles apart from each other. Waikiki is where most of the tourists go. Honolulu is where our business district is based and also where I work. If your point of reference is Hawaii Five-O or Magnum PI, then those storylines and those film sets are both located on Oahu. And technically, this is another map, but of the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. So now you can see the chain that I just talked about kind of on the bottom right of the screen and the rest of it on the northwest portion because they are called the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands. Technically, our state is made up of 137 total islands, islets, and atolls, which stretch 2,400 miles. So that goes from the southernmost island, Big Island, to Kure Atoll, all the way up north. And nobody really goes to the smaller islands except for researchers and biologists. And that's what they'll see when they go up there, a lot of wildlife. We're the 50th state in America. There's almost 1.5 million people living in the state. We speak English, which is one of our official languages. The other is Hawaiian, although it was dying for decades. In the 1970s, we had a cultural renaissance, and very, very slowly, elements of my culture have been strengthened. If you want to know what it sounds like, it's a Polynesian language. It's similar to Samoan, Tahitian, Maori, and Tongan. There's 12 letters in the Hawaiian alphabet, and 5 of them are vowels. So the rule is no 2 consonants are ever put together, which is why it sounds really melodic. As an example, if you want to say good morning, which it is here, it's 7:13 in the morning, you would say aloha kakahiaka. I understand it's night in Moscow, so you would say aloha ahi ahi. Pehe oi means how are you? Mahalo means thank you. And here is a semantics distinction that a lot of people don't know, but if you say it wrong, the locals will know that you're not from here. There is a difference between a Hawaiian and a Hawaii resident. So Hawaiians are sometimes called Native Hawaiians. They are ethnically Polynesian. This term refers to having Hawaiian blood. But if you live here and you are not ethnically Hawaiian, then you're just called a Hawaii resident or a local person. So a person is not Hawaiian just because they live here. And that confusion is totally understandable because it pretty much applies to everywhere else. I'm sure if I lived in Russia, I might be Russian. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But definitely if you live in California, you're a Californian. So Sorry that the rules are a little bit weird and confusing here. The population here is comprised mostly of Asian ethnicities, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Filipino, Thai, Vietnamese. That is because they were brought over to work the plantations like my ancestors who arrived. My Chinese ancestors arrived in the 1800s to work the plantation fields. So did the Portuguese and the blacks. Caucasians arrived in 1778 with Captain James Cook, who, quote unquote, discovered Hawaii. And this is why we are often called a melting pot. What's the best time to visit? In Hawaii, we really just have summer and winter. So it's either hot or it's rainy. Summer runs from May to October. Winter lasts from November to April. My favorite months are April and May, September, October, the shoulder months, because it's not too hot and it's not too rainy. And let's talk a little bit about the separate islands now. We'll start in the north, if we remember that map, and work our way down the island chain. So we'll start with Kauai. This is the fourth largest island. It's the oldest and northernmost in the chain. A lot of valleys and cliffs shaped by the time and the weather. Kauai has tropical rainforests, rivers, and waterfalls. In some parts you can only get to by sea or air, and this is why it's really popular for people seeking outdoor activities. Here's some of the things that you can do there. That is me, kayaking in the Wailua River. You can snorkel, hike, surf, go zip lining, or look for whales during certain times of the year when the whales come here to breed. This behind me is Waimea Canyon State Park. It is one of the top attractions there. It's often referred to as the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. It stretches over 14 miles and is more than 3,600 feet deep. It's a must visit if you go there for hiking and photography enthusiasts. The Napali Coast is an iconic coastline, which that is me as well. I used a lot of the pictures of myself just because I wanted to make sure I had ownership rights to it. It's famous for its dramatic cliffs, lush valleys, and pristine beaches. And actually, Napali in Hawaiian means cliffs, the cliffs. Na is the, pali is cliffs. So if you came, you could explore the coast by, hiking it, taking a boat tour, kayaking, or a helicopter tour, but you cannot get there by car. Charter tours are available. Napali Coast has been featured in a lot of films, including iconic titles like Jurassic Park, Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides, and King Kong. And so when I went on this boat trip many years ago, this amazing pod of dolphins, probably 100 of them, came and was swimming by the front of the boat with us, riding in the waves, and it was so unforgettable. There's Poipu Beach Park on the sunny South Shore, perfect for swimming, snorkeling, and sunbathing. Also a great place to see Hawaiian monk seals and enjoy water sports. Wailua Falls is an 80-foot waterfall. Wai means water, Lua means two. And it's named that way because there's two waterfalls there. Easy to get to, no hiking, popular for photos. If you can remember this far back or you look on YouTube, it was featured in the opening credits of the 1970s American TV series Fantasy Island. And this is Hanalei Bay. It's up north. It has great beaches and scenic vistas. You can go swimming, surfing, or relax on the beach. And just down the road from that is the Limahuli Botanical Garden, which is a gorgeous example of an ancient Hawaiian village. The land, as you can see in these pictures, is terraced, and they have taro or lo'i patches. Those are examples of our indigenous food systems. It's part of the National Tropical Botanical Gardens, or NTBG, which is a nonprofit. This is the Daniel K. Inouye Kilauea Point Lighthouse. That is it's at the Kilauea Point National Wildlife Refuge. Very popular. It was built in 1913. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. It got added there in 1979. And this can be briefly seen in Disney's animated film Lilo and Stitch. And it also plays a more important role in its first release sequel, Stitch the Movie, the pilot film to the Lilo and Stitch series. Also, we have a connection to Russia on this island. Russian fort behind me is located in Fort Elizabeth State Historical Park in Waimea, built for the Russian-American Company in 1817. It was to establish a foothold for Russia in Hawaii by creating a fueling station in the Pacific and a stable trading location for the shipping company. It didn't last long, and after the company left the islands, the fort housed Hawaiian soldiers for more than 40 years. Okay, random picture of dogs. Those are my former dogs, Kona and Inca. Bless their hearts. They have passed on. Next, we're going to move to Oahu. It has just under 1 million people. You can see why it's called the gathering place. This is my island. As stated earlier, it's the capital city. It's very cosmopolitan. We have historic landmarks, fine dining, world-class shopping. And that is what it looks like on the South Shore. As stated earlier, we have about 700,000 tourists in Hawaii every year, and it sure feels like 699,000 of them go to Waikiki, which you can see in this picture. This world-famous neighborhood is on the South Shore, once a playground for Hawaiian royalty. Its first hotel, the Moana Surf Rider, was built on Waikiki Beach in 1901. Today, there's almost 80 hotels on Oahu, and most of them are in Waikiki. The main strip is Kalakaua Avenue, and it has world-class shopping, dining, entertainment, activities, nightlife, and resorts. Parallel to that, one block inland is Kuhi'o Avenue, but the beach, as you can imagine, is the biggest draw. It's about 2 miles of white sand, kiosks where you can buy surf lessons and catamaran rides. The southern shores of the islands have the mildest surf, so it is perfect for beginners, whether on Oahu or any other island. And this is where the legendary Hawaiian waterman Duke Kahanamoku grew up surfing the waves of Waikiki. And it's almost always sunny in Waikiki. At the eastern end of the strip, there's attractions like the Honolulu Zoo, the Waikiki Aquarium, and Kapi'olani Park. It's a 200-acre park, always full of people playing sports, jogging, relaxing, picnicking, or enjoying the occasional festival set up on the grounds. And behind the park is Mount Leahi, also known as Diamond Head. It's a very recognizable landmark. Leahi means brow of the tuna fish in Hawaiian because the shape of the ridge resembles the forehead of a tuna fish. The English name Diamond Head was given by British sailors in the 19th century who saw sparkling calcite crystals on the slopes of the volcanic cone and thought that they were diamonds. A lot of people come for Pearl Harbor's military history. Over 1.5 million people visit Pearl Harbor every year. It's about an 1.5-hour car ride out of Waikiki and known for being the site of the surprise attack by Japan on December 7th, 1941, which led to the USS entry into World War II. It's also the home of the sunken USS Arizona Memorial, which was bombed on that day. 1,100 sailors and Marines were killed on the USS Arizona Memorial in that attack. 1,102 of them are located in the waters below. And when you arrive at Pearl Harbor, which is part of the National Park Service now, you would take a shuttle boat out to the Arizona Memorial to pay your respects. Another ship is also docked at the harbor, the USS Missouri, or the Mighty Mo. Her quarterdeck was the site where the Japanese instrument of surrender was signed, officially ending World War II. That ship is now a museum ship commemorating the Japanese surrender at the end of the war. And this is why we say that Pearl Harbor has the bookends of the war. Oh, I'm sorry, that is the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, or Punch Bowl. I was trying to show you the Arizona Memorial, but I guess I put my pictures in out of order. Anyways, here we go. All right, so Punch Bowl, we'll go back one, is right here. It's the resting place for almost 5,300 veterans and eligible family members. It is located in an extinct volcano called Pu'uwaina Crater. Looks like a big bowl, so the name is Punch Bowl. This is Iolani Palace. It was built in 1882. The palace is the official residence of the Hawaiian monarchs. It was ahead of its time because it was outfitted with the most up-to-date amenities, including electric lights, indoor plumbing, and modern communications, the telephone. The palace has a major conflict in its history. So today it's the site of an annual protest march. When a woman named Lili Uokalani was our queen, a group of foreigners overthrew her in a coup in 1893, and she was put on house arrest for 8 months in the palace. The insurgents established the Republic of Hawaii, but their ultimate goal was the annexation of the islands to the United States, which happened in 1898. This is why you'll hear the phrase illegal overthrow to indicate the end of the Hawaiian kingdom. And there's a number of Hawaiian sovereignty activist groups with slightly varying beliefs who campaign to reestablish an independent nation or kingdom of Hawaii. Each year, some 6,000 of them march in a peaceful protest to commemorate the date of the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom and to honor the last reigning monarch, Queen Liliuokalani. Just across the Iolani Palace, there is a bronze statue honoring the ruler who unified the Hawaiian Islands, King Kamehameha the Great, because before he united us, each island had a separate ruler and there was always war. And that is the plot of Apple TV's Chief of War. We have a state holiday named for this king called Kamehameha Day in June. Some natural landmarks to visit, including this picture, the Nu'uanu Pali Lookout. You can get a magnificent view of the windward side of Oahu, and the towns of Kailua and Kaneohe. Kailua is where President Barack Obama used to rent a house every Christmas when he was in office. And just east of that town, not visible from the Pali Lookout, is a town called Waimanalo, where he bought a home after he termed out of office. And sometimes you can see him or his wife around town. If you want to swim with the fishes, check out Hanauma Bay Nature Preserve. That is a marine life conservation district. It's illegal to go fishing, so the fish aren't even afraid of people. It's a great way to get an up-close look at the tropical fishes. Other notable points of interest include Ala Moana Center, the world's largest open-air shopping center. There's more than 350 shops and restaurants and a lot of department stores. And if it's museums you want, Honolulu's Bishop Museum is Hawaii's largest museum dedicated to studying and preserving the history of Hawaii and the Pacific. The Honolulu Museum of Art, or HOMA, is Hawaii's largest general fine arts museum. It has a permanent collection of more than 60,000 pieces. And there's also the Capitol Modern, that is a state-run museum operated by the State Foundation of Culture and the Arts. And there you can see rotating exhibits for free. Random picture of animals to keep it interesting. Also, the actual parrot decided he was tired of being on my shoulder, so now he is in my hand. Let's take a look now at Molokai. This is Hawaii's 5th largest island. It's only 38 miles long, and 10 miles across at its widest point. It has the highest sea cliffs in the world and the longest continuous fringing reef. There's disproportionately a lot of Native Hawaiians who live there, only next to the island of Ni'ihau, and they lead a very rural lifestyle. The biggest town is Kaunakakai, and this is a shot of it. The tallest point is the church steeple, and there's only one main street, and you're looking at it. It has a bakery that's famous in our state. Kanemitsu's Bakery started in 1935. There aren't too many attractions here per se. It's a lovely island, tourist attractions. One of them is the historic Hawaiian fish ponds used for aquaculture in the 13th century. Hawaiians were great at aquaculture, namely stone and coral fish ponds. And Molokai has a lot of them located on its southern coast, many built 700 to 800 years ago. This is a picture of the Kalaupapa Peninsula, where I have ties to. It's on the north coast. In the late 1800s, victims of Hansen's disease, otherwise known as leprosy, were exiled at a time when there was no cure. It's a very hard-to-reach peninsula with sheer cliffs that are 1,700 feet tall, as you can see. So it was like a natural prison for many of the 8,000 patients sent there, including my Hawaiian great-grandmother, who spent her last years there. And that is where the famous Father Damien ministered to the sick. Today, it's managed by the National Park Service and the state Hawaii Health Department, and there are just a few patients left. What to do with the land after the last patient passes away is still a topic of discussion. And it's so beautiful there. It's so rural. These are some of the cats that I met on my most recent visit there when I had gone to pay respects to my grandmother and her gravesite. Of course, I took pictures of all the cats. We'll move to the next island. Lanai has few paved roads and no crowds and lots of space to unplug. The historic town is called Lanai City, which has some small shops and restaurants. It was founded in the early 1900s as a plantation town for the island's booming pineapple industry. Back then, Lanai was responsible for 75% of the world's pineapple production. And to honor this heritage, they created the Pineapple Festival, which they have every summer. Another big tourist draw for a certain crowd is the Lanai Cat Sanctuary. Some other views of Lanai, by the way. Lanai Cat Sanctuary, which now has over 700 cats. It has a double mission to rescue cats, but also to protect native and endangered ground nesting birds. Funding comes from vacationers who visit and donate to this 4-acre paradise. The island has 2 hotels, the Four Seasons Resort Lanai and Sensei Lanai, a Four Seasons resort. They're both gorgeous. They're pretty pricey. For something that more middle-class people hope to find an Airbnb vacation rental. But there's just not a lot of inventory. So this is why a lot of locals, if they want to go to Lanai, like when I went to the cat sanctuary, I just flew in for the day. It is a wonderful place, though. And if you rent a car, I'm sorry, you have to rent a car. That's the way to get around. Make sure to wave at the other people on the road because that is what they do there. We're moving on to Maui now. Maui is where my Hawaiian side came from, and it's a very popular tourist island. There's a lot of flights that go straight into its airport in Kahului, bypassing Honolulu's international airport. Most visitors stay in West Maui, where there's long stretches of beaches, warm weather, numerous snorkeling spots, plenty of resorts and vacation rentals, and fantastic sunsets. There's Ka'anapali, which has Kapalua Bay and Napili Bay. And every summer for close to half a century, they've hosted the Kapalua Wine and Food Festival. West Maui is, sadly, where the town of Lahaina is located and where it was completely burned in the devastating wildfires of 2023, which killed 102 people and burned about 3.4 square miles, making it the deadliest wildfire in the U.S. in more than a century. It has taken years, and it will take years more to rebuild from a disaster of that magnitude, but the county wants people to know it's open for business, and one of the most meaningful ways visitors can help, it's asking, is by returning thoughtfully. So supporting local restaurants, artisan, and tourism experiences can play a role in strengthening that island. 85% of its jobs come from tourism or are tied to tourism, so every visit matters. And that is what the fire impact zone looked like a year after, so still quite devastating. South Maui dials up the luxury. There you'll find the most luxurious hotels on the island, stunning beaches, and views of Molokini Crater and Kaho'olawe. This is me and my daughter in the middle and a photographer snorkeling at Molokini Crater. I have done it. I highly recommend it. And here's my pro tip. If you do it, then spend the extra money on the wetsuit and the snuba, which is what we are doing there because it is so worth it. This is a view of Haleakala. It is upcountry, which means it's on the slopes, the mountainous slopes of the island. It's literally up in the country. This is where my great-grandmother was from. And because it's on the slopes of a crater, the weather is cooler and you get some great ocean views. Now, this is a dormant volcano, Haleakala, where you can drive up, you can watch the sunrise from the top of Haleakala National Park, or you can also pay for a bike tour to ride down the mountain. And if you do that, I would suggest bringing a sweater. It might be much colder in Russia or the East Coast of America, but I still think it would get cold because it can get to 18 degrees Celsius and it's windy in the colder months. And if you're just standing there for a while watching the sunset or you're biking for many minutes going downhill, you'll probably still get cold. And elsewhere in the upcountry area, you can also ride horses or you can do yoga with baby goats. This is on East Maui. You can get there by either taking the famous road to Hana, which is very windy, so sometimes you might get car sick. That drive takes you around 620 curves, over 59 bridges, but you get views of a stunning coastline, lush landscape, and stunning Maui waterfalls. Or you can get there by flying a smaller plane directly into Hana. Hana itself is a very small town with some cute beaches and lovely landmarks. The seven sacred pools, also known as Oheo Gulch, are a stunning collection of waterfalls, and natural pools. You can hike the mountains above to see the higher pools or swim in the lower ones that connect to the ocean. Nearby is the grave of the famous American aviator Charles Lindbergh. This one is on the ground of the famous Palapala Ho'omau Church. You might know Charles Lindbergh's name because he made a nonstop solo flight across the Atlantic in 1927. Well, decades after that, Lindbergh moved to Hana and spent his final years there. Random cat that we met in Maui. That's my daughter. Here's the Big Island, or Hawaii Island, the youngest and largest island in the Hawaiian chain, nearly twice as big as all the other Hawaiian islands combined, hence the nickname Big Isle. It's so diverse, it has all but 4 of the world's different climate zones here, ranging from wet tropical to polar tundra, and the island is still growing in size because it has an active volcano. So there's snow on the mountain of Mauna Kea, and then there's the world's famous beaches on the coast, including some beaches with sand that's colored black or green. You know, here on this island, we say you can go from snow in the mountains to sun and the shores of the beach all in the same day. It is the youngest island in the archipelago, and Hawaii was believed to be the first island Polynesian voyagers from the Marquesas Islands set foot on 1,500 years ago. Captain Cook was also killed here at Kealakekua Bay in 1779. At that time, the archipelago had a population of about 300,000 people, and Cook named our island chain the Sandwich Isles, or the Sandwich Islands, after the English Earl of Sandwich, who he admired. At this time, the islands were still ruled by warring chiefs, but one of them, King Kamehameha the Great, conquered all the other islands and unified us. Kamehameha was born on Hawaii Island, and he established his first court there. Like many ancient religious belief systems, Hawaiians are polytheistic and believed in many gods. One of them is still the most talked about today, Madame Pele, the volcano goddess. And the legend goes that she settled at Kilauea Volcano at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, keeping Kilauea in a constant state of eruption since 1983. Kilauea started its latest series of eruptions in 2024. And that's why the Big Island keeps getting bigger. The lava flows to the coast and creates new land. Over the centuries, that hardened lava gets worn down by the ocean and turns to sand, and that's why we have black sand beaches. Punalu'u Black Sand Beach is one of them, and a great place to see Hawaiian green sea turtles basking on the shore. And those are the lava cliffs that I just spoke about, hitting the water. Over time, those cliffs will become sand. This is the green sand beach. This is called Papakolea Beach, and it's in Ka'u, the southernmost point of the island. It's one of only 2 green sand beaches in the world. The other is in the Galapagos Island. The sand is olive green because of the mineral olivine, formed during a volcanic eruption thousands of years ago, when lava from Mauna Loa flowed into the area. Over time, the volcanic rock eroded, leaving behind the vibrant green crystals. And off the west coast, the waters near Kailua Kona, are shielded from the winds by the active volcano Mauna Loa, making it a perfect place to snorkel, scuba dive, or go on a manta ray dive at night. The waters are full of interesting marine life from honu, Hawaiian green sea turtles, to deep sea game fish, which makes Hawaii Island a popular place to go sport fishing. And speaking of ocean activities, it is important to be careful when you get into our waters because the currents and the undertow can be strong and deadly. Observe any hazard signs if lifeguards post them, for instance, warning people of shark sightings, stinging jellyfish, or high surf. From the sea to the sky, the stars are very important to us. Historically and currently, our ancestors navigated the ocean using the stars as a map. They came from the Marquesas Islands and later from Tahiti, with settlement occurring between 1400 and 1200 AD. Today, Mauna Kea is home to the largest astronomical observatory on the planet, and there's guided stargazing tours at the summit. It's 4,200 meters above sea level, making it the highest point in Hawaii. Lots of people associate hula with Hawaii. And yes, it's our indigenous dance that tells a story within the movements. There are hula schools or halau all over the state and the world. Like, for instance, did you know there's a lot of halau in Japan? But the best of the best converge on Hawaii Island every year at the Merry Monarch Festival in Hilo. It started in 1963. Where did I get that number from? 1963, to honor King David Kalakaua, also known as the Merry Monarch, because during his reign, he sought to revitalize the Hawaiian people and the culture, including supporting hula dancing. It is a big, big, big deal to even dance at the festival, much less win. The tickets sell out like hotcake, and the hotels and the car rentals get booked up months in advance. And you know what? Of all the things that I have done living here and reporting on these islands, I have actually never seen a Merry Monarch in person. And wouldn't it be wonderful? But I can't get tickets. Okay, here's your random animal slide to keep it interesting. These are our late guinea pigs, Bean and Churro. Ni'ihau. There's a lot of mystery surrounding Ni'ihau, the seventh largest island in Hawaii. Very, very few are allowed there because it's privately owned by the Robinson family. As of the 2020 census, the population had fallen to just 84 people, mostly Hawaiians. They speak Hawaiian as a primary language. That is what it looks like from the distance. Elizabeth Sinclair purchased Ni'ihau in 1864 for 10,000 US dollars from the Kingdom of Hawaii. That would be around 1.75 million US dollars today. It's been in her family ever since. In 1915, Sinclair's grandson Aubrey Robinson closed the island to most visitors, and the island is currently managed by brothers Bruce and Keith Robinson. It's off limits to all outsiders except for the family and their relatives, U.S. Navy, government officials, and invited guests. In 1987, a limited number of supervised activity tours and hunting safaris opened up to tourists, and this is what I saw when I took part in one of those. It is said that Robinson's rules for the island include a ban on alcohol and cigarettes. They cannot talk about Ni'ihau to the media, and they can't come back if they leave the islands for too long. Also, that men can't have long hair or beards. The island lacks electricity, running water, telephones, paved roads. Some residents support themselves by subsistence fishing. Others depend on welfare. All residents live rent-free, and meat is free. If they have medical needs, they fly to the nearest, more developed island, which is Kauai. So when you're living here, the other locals who aren't living on Ni'ihau, we really don't speak a lot about Ni'ihau a lot. It's out of sight, it's out of mind. It's not written much about in the media. Although I will say my former station, here's some other pictures of Ni'ihau. Look at this. There's like nobody on the beach, which is completely unlike any of the other developed islands. So I will say my former station was the first and so far the only TV station to ever air a show about Ni'ihau in 2025. I have some coworkers who somehow formed a relationship with the owners and managed to get on the island and talk to people. So the only reason I'm actually doing product placement or brand promotion is because this is the only place I think you can get any sort of report, story, or recent images of Niihau. So if you go to their website, you can click on the link and check out the half-hour show. I took a look at it. I thought it was pretty amazing. And some of the interviews are conducted in Hawaiian with English translation, so you can also hear what the Hawaiian language sounds like, which I mentioned at the beginning of our speech. Here's another random animal slide. This is Olivia and our former cat Ocho. And lastly, this is Kaho'olawe, the smallest of the main Hawaiian islands, just 17 kilometers long and 72 square kilometers in total. In pre-contact times, so before Western contact, there's a small number of native Hawaiians living on it, but it was never densely populated, probably because it doesn't have a lot of fresh water. It was during World War II used as a bombing range for the US military, and then in 1990, the military ceased live bombings. So today, it is a protected area. This is how you would get there. Getting there is very difficult. The island has no docks or piers, so you catch a boat like this one that I did. It comes in from Maui, and then it comes close to shore, and it lets you off, and you have to swim in with your waterproof bag. There's no hotels. This is kind of a converted like warehouse, and this is where I stayed when I did some voluntourism work. It's also very windy with a lot of red dirt and no water. So every time the wind blows, you get completely dusty. This is me with a wet wipe, and I wiped all that dirt off my face, and there was still more. And then I went again at another time. Sometimes I went for reporting, sometimes I went to volunteer to help rebuild the environment. So you can just get a sense of how windy it is. It's also super dark at night. It's the first place I've ever seen a falling star. And that's what it looks like at night. Random animals, keeping it interesting. That's Inca and Ocho. They have both died. Bless their hearts. They crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And just to talk a little bit about the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands briefly again, I wanted to mention that in 2025, it was designated as a national marine sanctuary and given a Hawaiian name. So it is Papahanaumokuakea National Marine Sanctuary, America's 18th National Marine Sanctuary and the largest in the National Marine Sanctuary System. It is 582,570 square miles of Pacific Ocean waters in Hawaii, and it provides protection to nationally significant natural, cultural, and historical resources, while bringing opportunities for research, community engagement, and education and outreach. Most members of the general public have not been there. Like I mentioned earlier, it is largely for researchers, scientists, cultural practitioners, and educators. And that is a brief look at the Hawaiian Islands. I am going to see if there are any questions. Question 1, if I'm visiting Hawaii for the first time, where do you recommend I go? Oh my goodness, that is so difficult to answer, because if you are a very outdoorsy type of person, you might want to spend your time on islands other than Oahu, which again, no disrespect, this is my island and I love it, and I don't want to live on any other island. But the other islands are slightly less populous and less developed. So you could spend your time, let's say, on the Big Island. You could go to Volcanoes National Park. You could walk around. You could walk on top of the lava fields. And then you could walk and see, hopefully, if the volcano is erupting, you could get this crazy, awesome view of the lava. If you just Google it, and you probably have, you've seen these huge, tall fountains. And then, like I said, you could go to other places and take hikes on that island. You could drive all the way up to the top of Mauna Kea and see the snow. You know, you could go to Kauai Island and you could do hiking. So If you wanted to do things that were a little bit more city-oriented, I would suggest coming to Oahu and Maui. Those seem to be the two most popular stops for just kind of your all-around. People will come to Oahu, they'll stay in Waikiki for a few days and just get a sense of the district that everyone talks about. They'll drive around the island, which doesn't take long, like a few hours. Try to avoid traffic times, though traffic can be pretty bad. And then they often fly to Maui, which can be quieter and kind of like a less intense version of Oahu, a less intense version of Honolulu, and still just as beautiful. Um, so I'm sorry if that, I hope that answered most of your question. Of course, if you're crazy about cats like I am, you should try to carve out time to go to Lanai Cat Sanctuary. How much of the current population can speak Hawaiian? I don't know a percentage on that, but I would say at one point, like when I was growing up in the 80s, it was not that much. I would hear every now and then news reports talking about it being a dying language or a nearly extinct language. And then, I was mentioning the Hawaiian Renaissance that started kind of in the 80s and it's had this slow burn through the 90s. And even now, the state started these immersion schools where you go and the kids only speak Hawaiian. And I think in tandem with that, there's been this point of cultural pride. So you don't necessarily have to go to Hawaiian school or an immersion school, but sometimes people choose to take Hawaiian language. Like, for instance, my daughter, I'm Hawaiian, so she's part Hawaiian, wants to take Hawaiian language in college just because she's proud of her ethnicity. So I think, gosh, I couldn't even hazard a guess. 10%? I'm not sure. It's not something you hear a lot. You would have to go to certain pockets of the community. But I think what you will hear is like a lot of words sprinkled in. You know how people talk about Chinglish or Spanglish, like a hybrid mix? Yeah, they'll drop little words in. There's some words that are super common that everyone knows, like aloha and mahalo, but it'll be like that. I noticed Hawaii and some island names have a little apostrophe-like mark. What is that, and how does it change the way you say the words? Is it important to use? Oh, what a great question. Thank you for asking. That is a diacritical mark. In Hawaiian, it's called an okina. I don't know the English word for it. There's another one with a long, with like a long line over some of the vowels. That's called a kahako or a macron. And yes, it does change the way the words are said and sometimes some of the meanings. When you have the okina, it's a glottal stop. Oh, that's the English word. And it's like an apostrophe, but it's backwards. And you just stop. So like kaho'olave, okay, here's one. Molokai, Moloka, okina, I. So some of the locals actually pronounce their island Molokai. And so that's how I'm saying it without the glottal stop. But for some reason, for the rest of the state, we spell it with the glottal stop, with the okina. And so towards the end of my career and trying to pay respect to this, when I would say it on the news, I would alternate. So sometimes I would say Molokai, and then sometimes I would say Molokai. Yes. And also like that macron that I mentioned or the kahako, it changes the name of the word. So, or it changes the way you pronounce it. So like Kalakaua Avenue in Waikiki. At one point, I don't know about now, but the street names didn't have any of the diacriticals, but it's actually Kalakaua with a long A. So that macron is over the K-A-L-A. It's on one of the later A's. What is your favorite Hawaiian national dish? Okay, people are gonna joke that it's Spam, which became popular in the war because people were poor and it was a good preserved meat and they needed protein. So the rest of America grosses out at Spam, but we love it. And we've kind of turned it into sort of this hybrid food like Spam musubi, which is a blend of the Japanese handheld sushi roll layered with spam as a protein. But like I eat Hawaiian food. I like poi. I like lau lau, which, oh my gosh, you guys, it's almost like you wanted me to ask. It's like almost like you wanted me to do this. This parrot's name is Lau Lau because he looks like a little green lump of food, which is a Hawaiian food, a traditional Hawaiian food. It's got meat in the middle or and fish and a little bit of vegetables, and then it's wrapped with these lau lau leaves and then steamed. So that's like super popular and it's uh, very local, very indigenous. Question 5. Have you lived in Hawaii your whole life? What is it about Hawaii that makes you not want to leave? I have lived in Hawaii most of my life. There are periods where my dad had a job and had moved to the mainland. And actually, then I came to live here in a boarding school and I would visit my parents for the summer. So if there were times that I was away, I would still come back here for the summer. So like when I went to college on the mainland, or as it's vogue to say today, the continental US, um, I would still come back in the summer. So yes, Hawaii's kind of been the thread that runs through my life. And what is it that makes me not want to leave? I felt really lucky to like it here. Some people come or some people live here their whole lives and they get rock fever or island fever and they get bored and they think there's just not enough to do. I feel lucky that I like it. I love it. It's the place where I'm from. I've got roots here going back generations. I feel really comfortable. I feel I feel accepted. I feel like it's a part of my community. And I like when I can go places and recognize it and have like a long history with it. So if I'll drive past my grandparents' house, I can say like, oh yeah, my grandparents used to live there until they sold the house. Like I like having like a really deep emotional connection and historical connection to all this stuff. And I also like the fact that it's a really beautiful, environmentally speaking, um, geography. Like it's varied and it's different. I tell my daughter we should really appreciate living here and try to play tourist in our own town because people sometimes save up their whole lives to come here and it's home. So I do try to get to know it and appreciate it and not take it for granted. What are some common misconceptions about Hawaii? Gosh, sometimes people don't know that we have electricity or that we can't walk from island to island or that you don't have to exchange currency when you come. Like they don't realize we're part of the US. Do you prefer cooking at home or eating out at local restaurants? Oh, we have really good restaurants, and like a variety of them, um, including like Michelin, maybe if not Michelin starred, then like Michelin guided by Michelin chefs. So yeah, we do have like really great restaurants. Having said that, I think I'm kind of a simple person, so I just like eating at sort of a regular neighborhood restaurant rather than a super fancy one people fawn all over you. But yeah, I like both. When my daughter was younger and I was, more domestic, I did enjoy cooking. Now she's a college student. Uh, so sometimes I'm lazy and I just want to eat out or get takeout. What are some small traditions or daily practices from growing up that you remember fondly and think are really special or charming? Oh my gosh, I got to think about that. Hmm, small traditions. Well, we do have something called ho'oponopono, and I'm going to say this, if you practice yoga, because I'm a yoga teacher, I've kind of read that the popularity of ho'oponopono has expanded out to kind of that sort of metaphysical spiritual community. So perhaps you're familiar with it, even if you're not from here. But it's a traditional Hawaiian practice of finding closure and forgiveness in its conflict resolution. So you get in a circle, you talk about the problems with each other until you're talked out and you come to a resolution, and then you agree to not talk about it again. And so in that way, there can be, I guess, peace in your family unit or your friend unit. And then something else that you, I guess, are supposed to do is you can walk into the ocean and dive into the water as if to shed the negative energy of that and not look back. So I like that. Final question, how long is it to get to Hawaii from the coast by plane? The nearest American city would be California, and it's 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours. And that was our final question because we're out of time. We have taken it all the way up to nearly the top of the next hour. So with that, I would like to tell you that our next talk features Montana. It will be Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, 8 p.m. Moscow time. It's been a delight to be with you this morning, and thank you for all those really great questions and for listening to my presentation. On behalf of AMC Moscow, aloha.